3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for September 12th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, even more job cuts at Xbox. The PS5 disk drive is selling out, and Tony Hawk may yet return again. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
I am doing absolutely terrible, Grubb, but it's okay because I'm here with you on a Thursday morning. Jeff.
That's right. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna get things out there, and we're gonna handle them. Mostly video game related. A few personal issues. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm back. Let's do it.
That's right. Discord tried to silence us, but the news got to keep going.
The news train never stops, except for when I'm out on assignment. Then it stops a little bit, and then I come back and we start it up again.
Yeah. It's like a pit stop for like an F1 car, but since it's a train, it's gonna take a second.
Yeah, the momentum. It's just so much heavier, everybody. You don't understand.
Locomotion and everything. We gotta Sean and Nikki gotta get like the hand cart out and do like the seesaw thing.
Yeah, that's we can't do that. Our hands would get dirty.
The concept of coal scares Dan. It's a whole operation, guys.
Probably true. I'm under embargo for the trip, and they embargoed my life, so I can't even say really where I was. I'll say I was in the state of Arizona, because that's not going to narrow down enough to do anything. So went to Arizona for a trip, got back. I'll be able to talk about what I was doing pretty soon. It was a really good time. Might have some fun things to share during a UPF or something. That could be a good time. But yeah, back. We're gonna do news for the rest of the week. We're gonna have Blight Club will be back. We're gonna do it on Thursday instead because I'll tell you what. The thing that I noticed is Dan's very ready and raring to go for a new episode of Blight Club. He's very excited that Mike is suffering with this game, and he does not want to miss it. And I don't blame him. I don't want to either. But here we are.
Has Dan done the calculus that the faster and the more Blight Clubs Mike does, the closer he's going to get to his Blight?
Well, I think that's maybe another reason why he's so excited is because he's yet again been able to push it out further because now Lucy is between Mike and Dan's next game because of what happened at PAX West. So, yeah, I think he's totally fine with it. It's incredible. So
I feel bad that I just slacked Lucy in our general Slack and said, "Hey, you're on the Blight Club panel now. Change your flight."
She was, to show behind the scenes, she was pretty excited. She's we're not going to make her play some really long game. She's going to come in there play a bad game for an episode or two, and she's excited about that. So
we're still going to send her a costume, though.
Oh, 100%. That's most of the fun for me is other people having to dress up like idiots. That's a good time. Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Xbox cuts 650 more gaming jobs, but no studios closed or games canceled. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. Microsoft has implemented another round of heavy cuts to its Xbox gaming team following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. In this latest round of layoffs, Microsoft is eliminating around 650 positions from its gaming team, but no additional studios have closed. No other games have been canceled as a result of these moves, which Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer confirmed on September 12th. In January, Microsoft cut 1,900 gaming positions, bringing the number of cuts to the company to about 2,550 since the $75.4 billion deal to buy Activision Blizzard closed in October 2023. In a memo to staff obtained by IGN, Spencer said the cuts came as part of Microsoft's effort to align the company's post-acquisition team structure in managing our business. They just want to save money. They got people doing these jobs already. They want to save money by cutting out redundancy. Happens every time. Of course, it's happening again. But God, it's such big numbers every time. Another 650 human beings and their families now disrupted by this yet another sort of acquisition coming in like a wrecking ball, and these companies not really thinking long term, right?
No, absolutely not. I mean, for the company as a whole and like their portfolio, what it's going to look like to make this gigantic acquisition, sure, great. That's a lot of money being thrown down. I know, Scout. I am also upset by the news.
Damn right, Scout.
But I'm sure both sides, Activision that was going to get acquired, and Microsoft knew that this was coming, and maybe hoping for the inevitable, to put off the inevitable of like layoffs happening, not justifying layoffs at all. It's just incredibly unfortunate that within Microsoft alone, Grubb, to get 2,000 plus. And if this is the temperature that is happening right now, I can't imagine what we could possibly see for the rest of the year from Microsoft.
Yeah.
I'm also curious. I feel like, Phil Spencer's always been a very public-facing persona for Microsoft, and right before the summer, he kind of shied away from that. He did make an appearance at PAX.
Right.
I'm curious to see what this means for Microsoft's presence in the public eye for the rest of the year. Like, Game Awards is going to come up in December. Do they hope that other news is just going to sweep this all under the rug, or are they just going to wait and fire that last salvo of like layoffs later in the year?
Yeah, and it's I mean, it does feel like now he has, you're right, we're gone into the shadows a little bit, and now is only coming out when there's bad news, and it's like, well, that doesn't seem like a good strategy either. But I mean, I get that he's the one that has to take responsibility for these things, so he's got to come out and say the bad news. But I don't know, if the idea was like, let's let the games speak for themselves a little bit, well, that's not happening either. So not that I care about like how people are perceiving Microsoft or its leadership all that much, but it's like it's kind of thing where it's like, what are you guys thinking over there? Like you were talking for so much, you were the yapping company, you'd be out there always pointing out all these things that were happening all the time, and then you realize that has officially backfired a little bit, and now you're out here having to like only come out saying where you're laying people off. So it continues to be a bad look for them. Why does this stuff happen? I mean, they say it, and it's like we just got to keep believing them when they talk. I mean, he says in this thing, with these changes, our corporate and supporting teams and resources are aligned for sustainable future growth and can better support our studio teams and business units with programs and resources that can scale to meet their needs. I mean, just like all these companies, and just like we've been saying on this show and other shows for a long time, these companies are wondering where the growth is going to come from. And when they're in this position of it's hard to borrow money, and it's and there's not a lot like happening in terms of being able to release huge game after huge game very quickly, the growth comes from, on paper, spending less money on labor. And so they're they have to cut these jobs to make it look like they're growing, because that's what their investors need to see. And here we are yet again.
Grubb, would it have the same effect if someone in a higher role, perhaps Phil Spencer, someone similar to Phil Spencer, were to take a pay cut? Would that affect the numbers and improve them just as much as laying off a bunch of people would?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that there's probably not, it would take far fewer pay cuts probably to get to the same number pretty quickly. And I mean, I don't know what the management structure at Activision Blizzard looked like. I'm sure it was a mess. For sure, leading up to the acquisition, and like starting with the pandemic and leading into the acquisition actually happening, Activision Blizzard did hire a lot of people. They hired a ton of people. Their headcount grew drastically. So a lot of this is just like a car racing forward and getting ready to hit a little bit of a wall of they're hiring a bunch of people, and these are almost certainly going to be jobs that could be covered by this new acquisition once it happens. But Activision Blizzard can't operate under when that was happening, they couldn't operate under the assumption that the acquisition was going to go through, and hiring people was much more affordable then when interest rates were still low. And so this always felt like inevitable to a certain degree. But it doesn't make it suck any less. And it just begs the question of like, okay, you keep cutting jobs, you're looking for growth, and that's your excuse. As much of an excuse as that is, like, what do we care if you're growing? That has really nothing to do with us. And when you're out here saying like, oh, we're aligned for future growth, he's not speaking to anyone who's listening to the show. Really, people who care about the games and playing those games and having good games made by good people. So it is just this vapid, soulless corporation once again out here saying, hey, for our own investors, the thing that really matters to us. And I think that it's getting really old at this point, I think.
Yeah. At first it seemed a nice tidbit of this news that studios aren't closing. But then I imagine those studios are going to be filled with short-term contractors, and that is going to hamper the overall product of whatever they're developing. And that, Grubb, is just going to lead to further losses down the line of like quality of the game. There's going to have to make a bunch of compromises because, hey, we lost all these people that really knew what to do with these tools. And not that there's anything wrong with these new people, but there has to be a whole process of onboarding them, getting them acclimated to working with the tools that it just feels dour across the board looking forward.
Yeah, you got to wonder if it's when they were doing the round of 1900 layoffs, I wonder if they, in their head, they're like, okay, maybe this will be everything, and we can get on the other side of this and begin building up some positive momentum in terms of public relations and how people feel about the acquisition and feel about our games. And is this like a sign that things are worse than we know? I think there's a chance, especially with the Xbox console sales being in a weird in between place of people aren't really sure why they should be out there buying the console, and the games kind of like fluctuating between being locked down to the console and going other places. Microsoft clearly looking for ways to make more money from these projects, and it's like, oh, is that also not enough? And you had to do this, or is this more of a like, okay, well, we've continued to look at the numbers and we've looked at these jobs, and this really is just doubling up in redundant jobs, and we have people doing this work already. And either way, it sucks. Either way, this is a huge number of people being affected by this. I guess what I'm getting at is, does this, like you were saying earlier, does this continue through the rest of this year? Does this continue into 2025, where people are like, hey, let's survive to 2025, things could turn around then? If this, if we get it to early next year and there's another round of layoffs like this, which feels significantly possible at this point, I think this industry is going to like kind of wake up and be like, oh man, we were fooling ourselves. Things actually aren't going to get that much better. And it could like domino, and Microsoft could set off a bunch of other studios to be like, okay, even Microsoft can't make this work. We got to start laying people off as well. It's a scary proposition.
Yeah. It doesn't bode well for anyone.
Yeah.
Grubb makes my tummy hurt.
Yep. It's very frustrating. Yeah, again, they're saying these jobs are corporate and supporting teams, and God, that is a black box. Like, we have a little bit of insight into the studios, the people that actually like make the corporate structures work and connect these studios together and all that stuff. They never really show us what's happening there. Those people are never named. They probably show up in the credits of some of these games, but it is like hard to piece together. Like, oh, okay, where are you working? So, it's going to be very hard for us to put our finger on the pulse of this and figure out, okay, is this truly aligned for future growth the way that you need it to be, so that we don't have to do another one of these goddamn headlines? But
yeah, I remember like one of the positives we were hoping for with this merger is that, there would be better management, and folks would not at Activision Blizzard would have to deal with less, harassment than they were originally dealing with under the old regime. It is definitely not a better trade-off if they don't have to deal with that, but they get fired.
Yep.
And I can only imagine being one of those Activision Blizzard employees hoping for the best of like this transition being handled well, and unfortunately just seeing team members across the board, if not themselves, get let go.
Yep.
And the worst part is, Grubb, like you said, families are completely being uprooted across the world.
Yep, these people are going to leave the industry. Like Aftermath just did that story, but we've heard that for a long time about people just kind of they get laid off enough times from the video game business, and they're like, I got in this business in the first place because of some passion and willingness to take some risks because I wanted to work in games, and now I have a mortgage and a family, and those risks, and I've seen the sausage factory now. That passion has been stamped out, and I'm gonna go work at a bank. And it's like, who blames them? I don't. Yep. All right, moving along here. PS5 disc drive is selling out online after PS5 Pro reveal. This is from Zach Swisen at Kotaku. Hey, Jan, I was out for this. I think you were out for this. $700 for that thing, huh?
Yeah, we were both out for this, and then I remembered seeing the price and thinking, why?
Yeah.
I remembered one Game Mess mornings. Emma Fife predicted $700.
Yep,
and right on the money. So I'm just never going to bet against Emma Fife ever again.
Bet against Emma Fife. Absolutely not. Yeah, it's we were in a meeting earlier this week, and I think someone's like said 650, and Becklar's like, no way, that's too high. I'm like, Becklar, I don't know, man. I'm thinking it could be even higher. Let's see. I was just talking to Emma Fife. She told me 700. I don't know. It was so easy to be like, those numbers are just too high at first glance, and then when you start thinking about all the factors that go into these companies pricing things, it's like, wait a second, why wouldn't they charge $700? And one of the reasons they would not charge $700 is this disk drive thing is already selling out. This system is going to sell out as well. Yesterday, Sony officially unveiled the PlayStation 5 Pro after months of rumors and leaks. The souped up console will cost $700, let you play mini games at higher frame rates, but doesn't come with a disk drive. The last part has seemingly led to a lot of people buying up the PS5 disk drive, leading in turn to console accessories selling out on many sites. On September 10th, Sony announced the PS5 Pro, and the reaction was a lot of people going, holy monkey, $700, mixed with people going, wait, it doesn't come with a disk drive? Nope. Like the Xbox Series S and PS5 Digital Edition, the PS5 Pro doesn't include a disk drive, but Sony does offer an optional optical drive that you could buy for about $80 and slap onto your PS5, and this drive will also work with the PS5 Pro. In the 24 hours since the PS5 Pro's official reveal, it has become harder to buy a PS5 Blu-ray drive. Currently, Amazon, Best Buy, and Target are all sold out. Over at Walmart, according to the store's tracker, 100 plus people have bought a PS5 drive in the last day or so. Around another 200 plus people have it in their cart currently. Meanwhile, on Amazon, the PS5 disc drive is the 5th best-selling video game-related item and is currently outselling physical copies of Astrobot. I think for one, people are worried, so they're rushing to get this thing. They were probably expecting something like this to happen, but I think that there's people that just want the newest thing, the newest best thing, no matter what, and they want to have all the options when they do get that thing. So here they are spending essentially, in the United States at least, around $800 to get this console once they're all in.
It is absolutely insane, Jeff Grubb. I am not interested in purchasing a disc drive for a PS5 Pro if I were to get a PS5 Pro, just because everything I consume now is digital, which isn't the best, I will admit. I wonder how much of this are people perhaps trying to flip them after the fact.
There's definitely going to be some of that, but that's like, where does that come from? That comes from perceived demand, which is likely actual demand. So it's all the same thing at the end of the day, which is, that goes back to why this thing's $700 in the first place, because the PS5 was a frequently flipped item early on.
Oh, yeah. And
it was done that way because people were willing to pay a higher price to be able to get access to that thing. And Sony saw the data and they're like, we could have just had that money ourselves. Why did we do this? We should have just priced this thing at least $600, but probably $700 is what they came away thinking. And now here we are. They're doing exactly that. I think there's probably a lot of scalpers showing up to buy this thing right now. But I think they are right in guessing that the demand for this thing will be there, because I was casually talking to some people when this thing was happening, and multiple people said, oh, I should go buy that disc drive. This is before we knew it was selling out. Like, I should go get that disc drive right now. So I think they're onto something there.
Yeah, I also wonder if this is people realizing how hard it was to get a PS5 initially and thinking like, well, I gotta beat the heat and everything and prepare for the scalpers ahead of time. So I will just get this component for a PS5 down the line. There, you mentioned, Grubb, like people just want to get the hottest new tech and everything, and it's just so interesting and so funny. Maybe it's because like I have the new iPhone and I'm fine with it, and I have a PS5 and I'm fine with it, but I just can't imagine shelling out $700 for something that is going to marginally improve my gaming experience.
Well, and I think that's let's remind everybody like how this went down with the PS4 Pro. I think of all the PS4s sold, and of course it came out later in the generation, so the numbers are just inherently going to be lower. But when all was said and done, I think about 13% of total PS4s sold were PS4 Pro. So, maybe going forward from when the PS4 Pro came out, it was like a quarter of every PS4 sold from that point forward was a PS4 Pro. I think that we could probably expect similar numbers here. So, 1 out of 10 PS5 sold will be a PS5 Pro. So, if you want to say like 1 out of 10 people like really want to make a big deal to go out and get this thing, that sounds about right. And I think they recognize that that's another reason why the price is so high. That 1 out of 10 is the number of the super freaks who are ready to spend just about any price to have the best thing on the platform that they prefer. And I think, they kind of just do this to throw a little like jet fuel, this little NOS that they're turning on the engine of selling consoles, right? They put a little bit of fuel into the, like the little bit of like the 100 proof whiskey into the engine, and it's like, okay, yeah, that is just a little bit to keep things mixed up and give it an extra kick. And that extra kick is these people who already own PS5s, many of them will sell them off and or trade them in. We saw GameStop saying that we'll give you up to $410 for your PS5. Now that's if you're that's if you're like a PS or a GameStop like Pro member and all this stuff, but it was still a pretty high number otherwise. And it's like people are going to take advantage of that, but those people that take advantage of that again are going to be the ones that have to have this thing right away.
Grubb, I wonder, like, for not everyone has a 4K TV, right?
Yep.
Some people are playing
way more now than like 10 years ago for sure, but yes, not
sure.
everybody. Yeah.
But like, say there's some people playing games at their desk, and maybe even their monitor isn't like a super good monitor. Maybe it's like an old Dell that they stole from their place of employment prior to COVID, right?
Sure. Let's just say.
I just can't imagine like a lot of folk seeing the differences. Jesse in the chat is chimed in of like, if you have to zoom in to a picture to show me the differences, it's not going to matter for a lot of people.
It was, I thought, a little bizarre. Yes. It was, and even when they were zooming in, I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, now, to be fair, I'm watching on my phone, but a lot of people are watching this stuff on their phone. And then even when they are watching on their TV, even if it is a 4K TV, Jan, if the TV's small enough, like if it's 50 inches even, like that's small enough, you're not going to see that much of a difference between like the slightly blurrier resolution sort of rendering at 1800p instead of a full 4K or whatever. I think what we predicted when we were talking all the times, we were like saying, hey, PS5 Pro is going to come out. What is the marketing sort of key going to be for Sony and PlayStation, like the way it was 4K for the PS4 Pro? And the answer was they didn't really have one. They don't have one, so they're very much relying on this time on a little bit of FOMO from the most hardcore people instead of being like making a compelling case to a wider audience. So now the good news for them is PlayStation still has a lot of momentum and people really want to be playing PlayStation games, and people in the console space now kind of consider it the default. So I think they'll be able to take advantage of it still. But they didn't come out and say 8K. They didn't come out and really talk a lot about one feature that's like going to make or break people's gaming experience, because there isn't one in this moment. Excuse me. There's just not one that is going to make that much of a difference. Games look about as good as they need to look, and we're not going to get past that anytime soon. This drive, I don't know. So, are you thinking about getting a PS5 Pro, Jan?
No, not at all. Unless, I don't know. Hey, PlayStation, you want to send a couple for review?
Yeah, we'll see if they send us some. And it's like, but if I'm like, I am debating if let's say they don't, and I have to make the decision. I would like to have another PlayStation in my house. And so I'm like, I'm beginning to build the case to convince myself to do this one. But it's not easy.
The other aspect of it, and this is more of like an aesthetics thing, but I wish it just looked different.
Yeah.
And looked cooler.
Well, I think if it had the black panels, even like if it was like the black PlayStation instead of the white one, I think that would be different enough for me. But
yeah, like a different color, a different shape. I don't know. Make it slim.
He usually says, Grubb, we will make fun of you if you get it. And it's like, yeah, fair. I expect nothing less.
Oh, of course. I'll do it too.
Yeah, please.
Like, give me like the slim PS2 flip up disc drive, even if it doesn't have the disc drive.
Yep.
Just give me a flip up door and like, oh, I can put a business card in there.
Yep. I'm actually a little surprised that it's like the PS5 Pro doesn't have like, and the PS5 Pro disc edition that just comes bundled with the disc drive. Like and they could sell that for, I guess they probably didn't want a unit on the store shelves that said $800. They probably didn't want that, actually. So like, this is their way of secretly doing that by having it $700 and then you get the other thing for $80. It's yep, fair enough. We'll see.
But Grubb, also, why would I need this if they haven't brought up a game that is really pushing players to like, oh, I guess I need a PS5 Pro to play this.
Yeah, I mean,
or at least building the excitement for that.
Right. I mean, that's again, there is no case to be made that's simple and easy for them. Now, I do expect them to work closely with Rockstar to have some stuff to announce for GTA 6. And that's next year. And that will be like, again, this first 5% of the people who are going to buy this thing, of all the PS4 users. So the first like 50% of people that are going to show up to just get a PS5 Pro, they're going to buy it no matter what. They just are. This is their thing, and they want the best thing, and they have to have it. And this is their hobby. They spend most of their money and time on. Why wouldn't they? If they're going to do that, why wouldn't they have the best thing? So, and Sony's counting on that. So that's why there is no big compelling argument in the moment. And then next year, when things start to fizzle out and slow down a little bit, they better have something like a GTA 6 to make an argument of. Listen, maybe it doesn't run at 60 frames per second, which is still seems very likely in this moment, but we'll see. With the maybe it is GPU bound, maybe it is going to be about. It probably is not going to be GPU bound, but maybe we don't know yet. And having the AI upscaling will make a difference and help get that thing to 60 frames per second. If that's the case, that's the only way to play GTA 6 at 60 frames per second on console. That's a pretty big thing, and that will help them sell a lot more when that thing comes out. Even if they can have like a 45 frames per second mode with VRR, I think that will make a difference as well. But yeah, the compelling case from one game or one feature is definitely not there.
Like, I don't know, bundle it with something. Like, give me a game, Sony.
Yep.
Give me a free game.
Yep. It's I think they were expecting to have more for this system, and clearly they just keep pushing things back. Like, I've said before that that state of play is coming later this month. It's probably coming in about, let's say, 12-ish days. And in about 12-ish days, there will have a state of play, not a showcase. And it's like still, a year goes by with no PlayStation showcase where it's like, here's all our big stuff. And it's like, so people are going to set expectations low again. And it's like, man, you don't even have like, do you have Ghost of Tsushima to talk about yet? Do you have like all these, like, is there going to be a Naughty Dog game this generation? It is beginning to look a little bit like, oh man, it is taking them even longer than I think they expected to get these games out. And that is hurting them in a situation like this, where they try to go out and make a case for why this thing's worth $700 and they just don't have anything to go along with that.
Like, I don't know, have Chapel Roan sign a PS5 Pro and then maybe I'll buy it.
Okay.
Maybe I'll buy it.
Pretty good performance last night at the VMAs.
Roan of Arc.
Yeah. Oh man, that's very good. All right, so let's see here. PlayStation wants to put more emphasis on family-friendly games, CEO says.
Motherfuckers. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cuss.
You're right, though. This is from Evan Campbell at GameSpot. When thinking about PlayStation, The Last of Us might come to mind, or maybe Marvel's Spider-Man. Horizon Zero Dawn, or God of War? When I think of PlayStation, Jan, I think of a person on Twitter with a Kratos avatar. That's what I think of. But looking ahead, Sony seems set on concentrating more on family-friendly games like Astrobot, according to PlayStation CEO Herman Hulst. Spotted by Eurogamer, Holst spoke with Astrobot creative director Nicolas Doucet on the official PlayStation podcast about family-friendly games after the recent launch of the Q platformer. I think it's massively important that PlayStation Studios develops games in various genres, and the family market, I think, is really important for us to focus on, Holst said. Astrobot has become the best reviewed game of the year so far, showcasing the possibilities for the franchise and brand for PlayStation. It's something Holst, who became PlayStation's joint CEO earlier this month, seems very aware of. Astro is very, very important to PlayStation, said Holst. Obviously, we had the pre-install Astro's Playroom on the PlayStation 5 that millions and millions and millions of people have embraced and loved, and I think that's become a little bit of a platform to launch this new game now. Additionally, PlayStation is bringing Lego Horizon Adventures, to PC, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch sometime this holiday season. Yeah, I mean, obviously, after Astro, you kind of can't deny the family market, but I mean, this is just something that they absolutely need to reckon with, because my kids PlayStation did not exist to them until they started getting into Astro, and now Astro has sort of won them over to the point where it's like, this is why I want to get a second PlayStation, because they're constantly want to play on that thing for Astro, and it's like, that's just one game. Like, you want to keep that. This is how Nintendo has retilled the soil over and over again with Pokemon, right? Where it's every new generation comes in for Pokemon, you kind of need to get them while they're young.
Grubb, I don't understand how Sony and Microsoft, for that matter, have forgotten that Nintendo is their other competitor.
It does feel like they forgot, yes.
While it seems like Nintendo and PlayStation and Microsoft are trying to, like, in this eternal grudge match with each other about Call of Duties, your sad fathers, AAA games. What about if Zelda summoned a table, huh? What about that?
Man, did you watch that? That new trailer came out this morning. That looks shit hot. God, that looks good.
Right, like, I get more excitement seeing like the trailer, or like that tweet for the new Mario and Luigi game, and the timing of that tweet, impeccable, showing off Concordia. But, like, you have to imagine, like, you have to capture that younger generation of gamers, like the gimmicks, that are still maybe a little bit too young to perhaps get into something like a Fortnite, but, like, you know, you look at Dib as an example, digs Fortnite, but dropped Fortnite completely to go play Astrobot. PlayStation, you have the IP. What if it, hey, everyone, turn up the headphones, get ready to cut the check. All right. We're sad. We're tired of God of War. We're a little tie of God of War, right? You know, the end of the last one, you know, was a little somber, a little sad. But what about, you know, Kratos' son, Atreus? We get a spin-off game, and it's a platformer. What if it's a 3D platformer, huh?
I don't think that's crazy even a little bit, Jan, because I playing Astrobot, and, you know, people have it in their hands now. Not going to spoil any specifics, but they do take some elements from other games from the Sony oeuvre, and they expand on those inside of Astro. And it's such a reminder of, like, God, they did some stuff like that today. And it's not even like, make another one of those games. Although, for all the games that they played around in, I would want them to make new ones. It was a really good time. It is like, maybe do some more, like, party games. Like, have Astro be a party game where you take all these games and like they can all play together, and then Kratos can be in the party game setting, and it makes total sense in that moment. And it's like, I don't know, just do a lot more, be a lot more bold in the way that you approach your IP and in the family space. And it feels like money left on the table. I think you're absolutely right to say that they have, like, moved the window of, like, of their attack along with us as we all get older. And they're like, these are the people that spend a lot of money on games. We got to be focused on them. And so our window of attack is against Microsoft in this one space. And they have it's completely void over here for them. And Nintendo just filled that vacuum and expanded to the point where when you get the Family Game Award at the Keeleys every year, it's like 4 or 5 Nintendo games. And that's not sustainable.
No, absolutely not. and to let that market go for so long. And there are Fortnite, Roblox, Call of Duty. Some of these multiplayer shooters have become like little social hubs for people. And like, yes, we have like kids playing Fortnite, but they're all on a Discord. Like, to create something to cater to those kids to like get together, like perhaps a PlayStation home, but like an Astrobot home, or I don't know, a Blasto zone for the kids to get together.
I was playing Blasto over the week because of you, Jan, of course.
It works.
Yes.
See, you just say something enough times and then it comes into someone's head. It just seems like such a missed opportunity and such a no-brainer, especially when you have like an amazing game like Astrobot, and then you were unlocking some of those bots and seeing like, hey, I remember that game. That game would be great all over again in 2024. We showed off the first world, or like the ending of the first galaxy last week on UPF. You could 100% turn Ape Escape into like a family-friendly game, have those apes pop off as like just as much as rabbits have, as much as minions have. And then like those apes could be like different guest characters from other IP. I don't know, like, oh, there's a Deadpool ape. There's so many opportunities, Grubb. I don't know why they don't see it. Yeah. Also, it seems, was it Sony that canceled the Crash Spyro game?
No, that was Activision before the Microsoft merger.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Because
that was Bobby Kotick.
Oh, well, okay. Never mind. That was a boneheaded decision, but now I know why it was a boneheaded decision.
Why. Yep.
Oh, jeez, Grubb. Yeah, we love hop and bops. We love platformers. Yeah, and there's also that space, like with the speedrun stuff coming out, the challenge levels coming out, that will appeal to older gamers.
Yeah, I think family game these days really does mean the whole family. I think it means a wider appeal, and everyone can enjoy it. I mean, it's Animal Crossing, it's Pokemon, it is generations coming together to play something. And I don't think the idea here is that these games are going to be able to come in and unseat Roblox and Minecraft. Like that's not what this is not what we're talking about. We are talking about a company like Sony being able to, and Microsoft, to be able to fertilize a new generation of gamers that care about their platform in a wider way. I always go back to it, the Phil Spencer letter of like, hey, we used to control retail, and we were the only ones who could put games in stores, and so we were the de facto game companies that people thought of, and so they had to sort of build an affinity for us. People fucking had an affinity for Majesco to a certain degree. It's like I at least know this name, and I see it on a game. I played their game before, and now I see another Majesco game. Maybe that is completely shot now. The only way you could build an affinity is by putting out a wide variety of games that people have a deep-seated care for, and that does start when people are younger, and that is worked for Pokemon over and over again. And you're not going to be able to go out and do Pokemon if you're Sony or Microsoft, but that doesn't mean you can't try. And I think Astrobot is an example of, if we put the efforts that we put into a Last of Us into a platformer, clearly we can come up with something. And I don't know. It's impossible to argue with what Astrobot is doing, I think.
I think it's funny that you bring up Majesco as an example, because I goof around all the time about IP like Blinks the Time Sweeper. But that's because Blinks the Time Sweeper has, despite never playing it, because it is like a platformer adjacent style game targeted perhaps towards a family, it is like stuck around in my mind. Like, we could name off, Grubb, we could go back and forth for quite a while naming mascot platformers, because like there is like some type of facial recognition. It will talk the power of Juju, right?
Sure, yeah. The voodoo vents, yeah.
See, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger.
Exactly.
Because there is like that, some type of like brand recognition or like style recognition that Sony has been sorely missing, because I just think of sad fathers, and I have no problem as a sad father, as someone with a sad father bod myself. But inject some fucking happiness into your platform, Sony.
Yep. And I mean, again, the way the Astro does it with bringing all those IP into the space where it's like, my kids now are asking about Kratos. And I'm like, well, which game has the least amount of threesomes? Give me a second, let me think. And it's but yeah, like this does sort of have a Smash Brothers like effect, where now all these characters are all here, and they have a presence, and people and these kids are asking questions about them. And it's like, okay, you've done that now with this platformer game. I think you've got to treat this as an opportunity to jump off into several other genres. I think a party game 100% should happen. A platform fighter is probably a good idea. I know they're scarred from PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, but an Astro platform fighter with these characters all dressed up like these other characters and getting their powers, like, it could work.
Yo, Grubb, make an Astro Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't all have to be Astro, but a lot of it should probably be Astro. At least for the next like 5 to 10 years, it just is working so well. So, yeah, at least they're saying it now. At least they're like recognizing that the family game space is something that they should be focusing on. And I don't know if they have much choice, because when they talk about, hey, the spaces that we're going to grow into and where we're going to find growth, they can't. Mm-hmm. They can't go to investors and say it's the live service games anymore. There probably will still be some growth from live service, but they can't go and tell that tale to investors because they're not going to want to hear it after Concord. So they're going to have a new story to tell. And the only place where they've had a dub recently in terms of an area where they haven't had success recently has been this family game. So I think that by default, they found themselves arguing that this is going to matter. But I think they will also have to follow up on that to a certain extent. So I'm hopeful.
I am also hopeful, Jeff Grubb, because Sony has continued their like up and down wave this year. The price of the PS5 Pro being announced, definite low for me. $700. I don't want to spend it. So let's see what they're going to do and bring us back up, baby.
Get us back up. All right. Let's see here. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Tony Hawk is back in some way right after this.
Oh.
All right, we're back. Let's do the Tony Hawk news. As we always do on the show. Welcome to the Tony Hawk news segment. Tony Hawk says he has been talking to Activision ahead of the Pro Skaters game's 25th anniversary. This is from Darren Bontheus at GameSpot. Skateboarding legend Tony Hawk recently hinted that he had been talking to Activision, teasing that something is being planned for the franchise ahead of its 25th anniversary. I wish I could tell you more, but I could tell you that I have been talking to Activision again, Hawk said in a Mythical Kitchen video when asked about the future of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series. It's insanely exciting. We're working on something. It'll be something the fans truly appreciate. Hawk's comments align with a recent refresh of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater social media accounts, as these were updated with new images bearing a 2024 copyright watermark. Fans have begun speculating that this could mean and what this could mean, and if the anniversary will lead to an announcement of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 remasters. Back in 2022, Hawk claimed that Vicarious Visions was working on remasters of those games before it became a support studio under Blizzard Entertainment. That's kind of underselling what happened there. They are Blizzard Entertainment now. They like kind of went in there and took over what was it, Diablo? Basically got Diablo over the finish line. I think it was Diablo. But yeah, the Vicarious Visions took their talent in there and kind of made reinvigorated Blizzard. Hey, I'm getting my hopes up for this. I want to believe that it's going to be something as big as a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. Jan, do you need to like talk me off the ledge here? Do you think it's going to be something less than that?
I wanna ollie off the ledge with you, Grubb, and hope there's a secret tape there, bud.
Yeah.
But I've been burned, especially by Activision Blizzard. And I just want Tony to be happy. I want Tony's legacy to live on.
Yep. I mean, he always talks about how like his legacy was secured by those games, and getting like the first check for like $4 million or something after that game crushed was, of course, when his life really changed. So yeah, he of course, I think has a deep-seated love of these games and wants to make sure that the legacy does continue. Yeah, it is, Activision, now Microsoft, do they have any of that spirit for this franchise? I would hope so, but who knows?
Yeah, I would hope so. And I feel deep within my bones, Tony wanting to bring Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 or whatever this could potentially be is not completely, wholeheartedly financially motivated. Those games did such a big and gigantic job in encouraging people to try skating for the first time. And, skating has become popular again.
Oh, it's massive.
But that being said, like, these games inspire audiences to try and pick up a board, at least buy a skateboard, try it out. And I can see that being a big thing for Tony, wanting to continue the sport and the art of skateboarding. And honestly, in terms of digital preservation, I would love to see Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, 3, one of my all-time favorite games, up there with the whole franchise. Maybe not the whole franchise. Project 8 we can leave in the dirt.
Sure.
But I would really, really want to see this, especially with like how good of a job 1 and 2 was. It hurts me inside, Grubb.
Yep.
It hurts me inside.
Yeah, I saw. I think Mikey O'Leary in chat was like, "Hey, this could just be like soundtracks," and it definitely could be soundtrack collections. I hope that right. You never know when like a celebrity talking to a company and they're like saying it's an exciting thing. I mean, they're excited a lot of times because they are just going to get the check again, right? But and so it's hard to like take Tony Hawk's words and extrapolate into exactly what this could be. I hope they're going to make more Tony Hawk games. It's not like we're sitting here arguing like, look, we know that it didn't sell very well, but no, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, best selling Tony Hawk game ever made. It was a massive success for them. So I don't know what we're talking about here, other than I get that $1 spent on Call of Duty is more valuable to them than $1 spent on anything else. But that's, that fever's got to break at some point, and maybe they should be ready for it to break by having some other pokers in the fire. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Call of Duty is not for every single video game player out there. It's not for me. And so I'm not rushing to play Blop 6. But if you told me there was a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3-4 coming out tomorrow, buddy, I'm strapping on my helmet and rolling down the hill with my skateboard to go to my local game store and buy it. And then realize I buy everything digital. So I'm going to have to skate uphill. That's hard.
It's tough. Go get those uploads and those downloads. People are mentioning some later Tony Hawk games that were good, and American Skateland, not American Wasteland, which I think was also good, but American Skateland on the DS is probably the last one that I really truly loved. That was a great game. It was especially cool because I had enjoyed the Tony Hawk portable games on the Game Boy Advance up to that time, but that was, there's 2 face buttons on there, so you were doing a lot of stuff on the shoulders, and I would get used to that, but having the 4 face buttons on the DS and like, oh my God, this is just a full Tony Hawk game now on my handheld, and it feels awesome, and it looks great because it had the cell shading on there. That was really cool. I played a ton of that game.
Grubb, I'm not saying that I've been itching to get into a fight so I can punch someone in the face. Sure. Right? I'm not saying that. Sure. I'm not advocating for violence. That being said, I want to punch Eric Sparrow in the face again. Give me Thug in 2024. Yeah, I need it.
I was just thinking that if there is something beyond 3 and 4 that they were going to do, and not something like less than 3 and 4, like where 3 and 4 remaster would maybe be the biggest thing they could do. I guess a full new Tony Hawk game would be the biggest, but like I was trying to be somewhat reasonable. But like let's take it down a notch. If they did a Thug remaster, that like just was a remaster, but like, kind of brought it out and like re-released it on Steam and everything, and then made sure it was like really compatible with the modding tools that people are doing, so we can have the Thug Online stuff that people have done. That would be really good for me. I would love that. I think that could be very cool.
To this day, I remember the character that I designed for Thug. The face looked like me. He had cool white sunglasses and a blue ponytail for some reason. And it was a banger. I was a pro in Thug.
Man, they should just bring back Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 remastered. There we go. Everyone
shut your mouth.
Everyone's clamoring for it. The kids demand the return of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5.
You clam up, Grubb. No one's clamoring.
Stop clamoring, kids. All right, let's keep going here. Steam launches Families, which is a weird thing to say, allowing users to share games. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Steam has launched Steam Families, its new solution for sharing games between groups of players. A Steam family can consist of 5 members and will allow members to purchase a title once, giving every member of the Steam family access to the game. Developers can choose whether or not to support the feature. If a game currently supports the Steam family sharing system that was previously in place, it will automatically support Steam Families, the new version. Players don't need to be online to share a shared game, so long as the game itself supports the feature. All games will automatically be shared between all family members. However, using parental controls, it's possible to block games from younger users within the Steam family account, something that I have taken advantage of. I've been using this in beta for the last few months. It rules. This is, to me, like this is a game-changing feature. It is the way that digital game sharing should work. I am very happy with this. It is very, very cool. There were still some hiccups here and there where it's like, oh, okay, is this game going to work? And it's like, well, if we're both trying to play the same game at the same time, no, that's not going to. Of course, it's not going to work. You get one copy. But if you want, maybe if you start it up offline, and maybe you could play it, and then it won't kick you off if you're on the Steam Deck offline. You can just keep playing it. So there's ways to get around some of those things still. But for the most part, the old thing was, you would do the Steam family sharing, and one person could be using any game from the account at any one time. And then if someone else tried to use it, they would get kicked off. Now it is, if you are trying to play a different game and it's in the Steam family library and it's so no one else is playing that game, you could just keep playing it without any issue while someone else is using that Steam library. Up to 4 other people could be using something else in that library as long as they're using different games. And it's very, very cool. So I'm into this. I do like wonder if like this is going to lead to new horror stories, because apparently if one of the players in your family, let's say they get banned from a game from online multiplayer, everyone in that family gets banned from playing that game online. So you might want to think about who you let into your family a little bit. Okay. You can get kicked out of families, and then if you like leave a Steam family, I don't think you can join another one for like a calendar year or something like that. So you're not going to be able to like bounce around between and be like, okay, I'm going to go play this friend's games and now this friend's games. There are some limitations on there. But I don't know. A lot of them make sense to me, because it's like, I just want to use this. So, you know, I got the 2 Steam Decks in my house and I got the gaming PC. And I got the gimmicks. I just want to be able to make sure that they can play my games without interfering with me doing the work that I need to be doing. And this feature has enabled that. And so for me, this is great. And then people that are going to try to maybe like squeeze a little extra usability out of this to get some more games for free, you're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to make that work to a certain extent, but it's not like some end all be all solution for those people. I don't know, Jan, is this something that you have any interest in?
With Steam, not immediately.
Right.
Just because I'm the only one in my household and friend group that really does play video games on the PC, but perhaps we could, use. I'm not going to say that out loud. Perhaps we make a Giant Bomb family account.
A Giant Bomb. We're a family.
We're a family.
That's
when you're
right.
here, you're family.
That's right. We'll leave the lights on for you. What other hotel slogans are there? I've been hoping that someone would do exactly this. I'm not surprised it's Steam. Do you think like a Nintendo does this anytime in, let's say, this century?
Grubb, you silly man. That would require Nintendo being open to that and not thinking that you are spreading piracy throughout your family. Even if it is for innocent purposes, like letting the gimmicks play a Mario game while you were playing another game on your Switch. Also, that would require the infrastructure to do that, and I'm just not 100% confident in Nintendo in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think this should be the sort of bar that all these other services are going to be measured by. I just don't think Nintendo is going to care that we are measuring them against this. They just won't care. So, yeah, it's I guess a little bit my fault for buying digital games on a Nintendo platform. And we can do like the account sort of like a friendly handshake where 2 accounts can sort of like have one system where it's like, that's my primary account, but you're going to use that over there. So your secondary account on that system can have access to all those games, even when, I'm not around. And then I'll just log in remotely for my account on this other system as a secondary account, and as long as I'm just playing on that account, I can use those games digitally. So two people, two systems works pretty okay. But I got two kids, so there's three of us, and that makes it just complicated enough that it's like, oh, I guess I wish I had physical games so I could just share it to the kids. But I don't really wish that, because they would fucking lose them. They would just lose those things. They would lose those little bastards. So yeah.
I have 4 Nintendo Switch carts. I don't know where any of them are, and I'm an adult.
My kids were like, they for some reason they're obsessed with the mini stuff right now. Mini kitchens, mini little clothes to dress up their characters in, and they took one of my Nintendo Switch cartridges, Just Dance 2017. I did get it launched. I just dropped, and they were pretending it was a tablet for one of their toys, a mini tablet. So
that's cute.
Yeah, that's what we have going on over here.
I think the gimmicks would love hit clips.
They would love, the gimmicks would love hit clips. That's very many. All right, last couple of things here. Flappy Bird is finally returning 10 years after its demise. This is from Chris Holt at Engadget. But basically, the story is, I guess some holding company bought the trademark, and then they bought a version of a game that plays like Flappy Bird, and they made it up to look like Flappy Bird, and they're going to re-release it. There's a bunch of Flappy Bird clones already, so I at a certain point, I'm like, how is this that different from those? Although I guess this officially has the name. I love Flappy Bird. I really liked Flappy Bird. I was into Flappy Bird in a deep way. I guess I'm glad it's back. The thing is, I've always continued to have access to it for the most part. Although I bet it doesn't work on this latest phone. But I'd have to double check that. But I was playing it like last year, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, any love for Flappy Bird, Jan?
Not at all.
Yep.
No love for this bird,
man,
at all.
It was flapping like crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. Xbox is bringing back friend request. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Microsoft has announced plans to bring back friend request on Xbox. The feature was last used during the Xbox 360 generation before being replaced with a social media style follower system when Xbox One launched in 2013. An updated friends and followers experience will be made available this week to Xbox Insider members on the Alpha Skip Ahead ring on consoles, and to users who signed up to the PC gaming preview on PCs and handheld devices. They'll be able to test that it's working as intended before it's rolled out. We're thrilled to announce the return of friend requests. Now you can easily send, accept, or delete friend requests, making it simpler to connect with others. Friends are now a two-way invite approved relationship, giving you more control and flexibility. Yeah, it was one that I never really understood the follower system on Xbox, Jan. That was like, so anyone could just follow me, and if I don't want that, I have to like set a different privacy setting. Honestly, it was like at that point, I never learned why I should care about the way that thing worked, and I still have never learned about it. And to me, part of that is like maybe a big part, a significant part of why the Xbox Live experience like fizzled out for me during the Xbox One generation.
I 100% think so, because like getting friend requests in the 360 era was like a big component of like, oh, like, yeah, let me add you, blah, blah, blah. And then just having that whole system change to a following system, and then even then being confused, like, hey, are we friends, or am I following you? Are you following me? I don't see you. It was always confusing, and it's similar about Grubb. I never bothered to learn the actual system. So whenever we would play a multiplayer game on Xbox, or like Xbox launcher on PC, I would just be terribly confused of like, wait, are we friends? Do I have to change anything? Steam is bringing families back. Xbox is bringing friends back.
There it is. It's a beautiful world that is healing right before our very eyes. Yeah, not everything needed to be a social media platform. And even some social media platforms have that exclusivity thing. That was the whole Facebook idea. I watched that movie. It was like, yeah, you have to like approve people before they could be your friends and stuff like that. And it's like, oh yeah, that there's some cachet there. And Xbox just gave all that up to be like, and now we're going to be like Twitter. It was weird.
It's just like real life, Grubb. You do have to approve people of being your friends.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. I don't. This is probably not going to like suddenly change everything, but I'm glad that it's going back to the way I think it should be. It should be this way. I'm glad it's going back to that.
Yes.
All right. Last thing, just real quick. Analog Pocket has 6 new colors that are based on the Game Boy Color, the color schemes. They look really good. I don't need another Game Boy or another Analog Pocket, but Boy,
Mhm.
those are good looking colors.
Mhm.
So yeah, they have the purple, the indigo, I think they called it. I like that. That's a good looking thing.
Yeah, some of these look real pretty.
Yeah, Marino says Crayola bold colors for sure. Yes, that Crayola period that we were all in for a while there that I was super into. All right, let's see here. That does it for the headlines. We do have a poll question that I will get up here in a second. So let me do that. Click there. Bum, bum, bum. There we go. And then go down here. How are you feeling about fair games? 2% said optimistic. 5% are cautious.
Uh-huh.
So we got 7% of people are like, or hey, no, I'm optimistic. And then 22% are optimistic. And maybe the most damning thing, 71% said, what is fair games? Now, of course, Sony's got a lot of opportunities to kind of come out and re-explain what this game is.
Yeah.
But they've done that once a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I think this just goes back to there was an assumption that Sony could sell anything to PlayStation gamers. And it's like, no, you told them you were going to make a certain kind of game and they've showed up for that kind of game. And if you're not talking about that kind of game, they're not paying attention. And I think Fair Games, Concord obviously proved that. I think Fair Games might do the same thing as well. Of course, Jan, if Fair Games plays in a way that people just can't ignore, like it's not just some like another hero shooter. I don't think it is like a heist PvE game. I think I'm like pulling out of memory. Maybe that's something people just have to have, and that could change the story for this thing. But in this moment, I would be worried if I was working on Fair Games.
Yes. For a hot second, I forgot that it was an actual game and not a studio.
Yes. God, I just learned the name of the studio, so I could like bring it up, and I forgot again.
And then, God, what is
Haven.
it?
Thank you, Marino.
Haven, right? And there's a $sign in the logo or the name.
There is a
right?
$sign in the logo, which is bad. As Tam pointed out on Friday, it makes it look like a crypto-related game, which is not what you want these days.
No, even for like the regular audiences, like $signs have been co-opted by the crypto bros, and we've lost it forever.
We've lost it, and we don't want it back. Actually, you guys keep it. You've tainted it, and it smells bad. Fair Games. Rough spot. We'll see next time. Maybe there's more Fair Games in this upcoming State of Play. We'll see, but I don't know. If the game's fun, I'll try it just like I did Concord, and I hope it's even better than Concord.
I'm gonna ask this question: what is the difference between a $sign with a single vertical line versus two vertical lines?
I don't know if there is a difference. I think it's a style thing.
Okay.
Maybe there's a difference, Jan. I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong on that. I honestly don't know.
You and I have never
That's
been
a good
wrong.
point. We have never been wrong. Yeah, I would say, yeah. I think the in general, 2 is correct. That's how I would do it. But I think just style, people sometimes stylize it with one line. $2 on $1 on cents, but the cent has its own symbol, Chuckle Nuggets, which is like the C with the line through it, right? So
yeah,
I don't know, whatever. All right.
This is the discourse we need to bring up on the internet.
That's right. Game Best Mornings is fully back now. Jan Ochoa, what do we have going on GiantBomb.com?
Well, to make up for missing Blight Club yesterday, we've enabled Mike Minotti to blink again.
We've activated
Folks,
him. Yes.
We've activated him. We are going to have Blight Club later today at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then immediately following that, we've pushed the dump truck to follow that bad boy up. We're going to be rolling straight into the dump truck after that. Tomorrow, we have another episode of Game Best Mornings for your peepers, as well as Unprofessional Spice Marine headed to you. We're going to dip into co-op and figure what that's like. And then I'm just going to be yelling or quietly muttering to myself, Spice Marine.
Spice
Marine. Spice Marine, why do we fall, Master Mouse?
So we can kill Tyranids. I'm looking forward to that. What time was Blight Club today?
12 my time, so 3 your time.
Okay, and so like an hour before voicemail dump truck. All right, listen, I'm fine because that means more episodes of Okay, yeah, cool. We'll do that'll be a hot 60. That'll be good. All right, that'll be happening later today. Everyone should look out for that. In the meantime, new poll question: do you want PlayStation to make more family friendly games? Yes or no? That's an easy one, I think, but whatever. We're coming back easy. We're gonna make it an easy time for everybody. Also, apparently Unity is canceling the runtime fee, which, gotta be honest, thought they already did. Just assumed. I think I assumed that they already did. And that huge backlash, and they're like, hey, yeah, we messed up. I guess all they did was say they messed up and they never actually undid this. People that don't remember, Unity was going to charge like 20 cents or something for every download of a game, like even a free-to-play game. I think what they were really going after was the Genshin Impacts of the world. And they so every time someone installed that game, Unity wanted to get theirs. And it was gonna apply to just about every game. And then they carved out a small little exception rule for very small indie games that were gonna get decimated by this. They are canceling the runtime fee.
Jeff Grubb, I just came up with $1 million idea. PlayStation, get ready to pull your checkbook out again.
Oh shit!
All right. I think there's been the common sentiment of people saying like, oh my God, if these Astrobots were physical toys, I'd buy them because they look like this PlayStation IP that I'm fond of.
Astribos, yeah.
Astribos. Hear me out, Jeff Grubb. Hear me out, PlayStation. Get ready to cut the check. You make a gacha game with the Astrobots.
Okay, Jan, don't do this
and
to
then
yourself.
Spin to win, baby.
Jan,
you want
right.
want that, like, you want that S tier Kratos Astrobot? Well, go buy some tickies, baby.
People are like, I want to be able to just buy these things and choose them from a store shelf. And you're like, what if we made it sick though? What if we made it disgusting and vile? That would be better for me.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? You can mix and match parts for your Astrobots, but you need the parts. Why don't you spin for those?
Okay.
Why don't you?
I can see it now.
What if there's a JRPG Astrobot, but you want him to have Nathan Drake's half-tuck shirt?
I do kind of want that. I was expecting more of a half-tuck than we got. All right. That was Game Mess Mornings, I believe. I don't know if we do anything else here. I think what I do is I say, Jan Ochoa, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for listening and watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Very happy to be back. Till next time. Have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.